Hi friends, I'm Brianne and welcome back to my channel. Today we're doing my June wrap up, which basically means I get to sit here and yap about everything I read this month. To be honest, June felt kind of like a mixed bag. There's going to be some book club reads, there's going to be some arc reads in here, as well as basically everything that I was in the mood for, because let's be honest, I am a mood reader and picked up whatever I felt like. So, that being said, let's talk about what I read, what I loved, what surprised me, and maybe what I had a few thoughts about. Quick monthly check-in. So in the month of June, I think I finished with 20 books. Yes, 20 books. The anxiety beside this month, that's all I'm going to say about that. This month was very much a mood reader month for me. I was bouncing all over the place, and honestly, that's pretty on brand. I had a few standouts, a few books that surprised me, and maybe one or two that I wanted to love a little bit more than I actually did. So let's jump into it. First on the list is Anonymous Acts by Christina C. Jones. I've read one other book by her, and it was more rom-com, and so I was really super excited to dive into more of her romantic suspense work. And I'm not gonna lie, she did her big one on this one. It was super good. I don't want to say too much about it because I definitely think you should go in blind with this one. Just know that I had a really good time with it, and I'm probably going to be diving into more of Christina C. Jones's work. The next one I read this month was Beautiful Carnage by Heather Ashley. Listen, okay. It was super heavy on the breeding kink. Do not judge me. I know you're judging me. But it also was dad's best friend. It was an age gap romance. And that was the reason why I went into it, because it was dad's best friend, not the breeding kink. Basically, on her 16th birthday, the FMC makes a wish when she blows out her candles on her cake, and it's for the dad's best friend to give her her first kiss. So she is bold and she asks this man, "Will you give me my first kiss?" And he's like, no, you're jailbait. That's never gonna happen. Maybe when you're older, but not right now. And she's heartbroken. Okay. So cut to 2 years later, she freshly turns 18, and for the last 2 years, all she can think about is the fact that she wanted this man to kiss her. This man, for those last 2 years, has been thinking about this girl, and he's ready to go to her daddy and be like, "Hey, I want to be in a relationship with your daughter." However, what they both don't see coming is the fact that the daddy has basically put her in an arranged marriage to be with somebody else. So it was good. It was good. It was fast paced. Overall, I'd probably check out more in the series, just because there was characters that popped up in this one that I'm interested in seeing more about. It was a get in and get out kind of read. It was good. It was fast paced. It was, yeah. Next on the docket was Rumors and Whiskey by Victoria Wilder. I arc read this one. I really liked it. The best way I can describe it is if Coyote Ugly and Practical Magic had a baby, but make it romantic suspense in a town called Rumor, Tennessee. I don't want to say too much about it because I think it's best if you go into it a little blind, but I had a really good time with it. The next was Stand and Defend by Sloane St. James. I read all the other ones in her Lakes Hockey series, and so I really wanted to complete the set before she takes them all off of KU. So FYI, if you're looking to read that series, she is taking them off of KU and going wide with them. One follows an FMC who is engaged to a complete trash can of a man. He's both physically and emotionally abusive towards her, and she ends up running away and finding safety within the arms of the MMC, who just happens to be her ex-fiance's best friend. Yeah. It was good. I would definitely, if you're into like a hockey romance, I'd definitely check it out. I would check your triggers, though there are some heavy topics in here, so just be wary of that. So we had Roped by Saffron Kent, and listen, I love me a good cowboy romance. I live in Alberta. Okay, I said what I said. So I really wanted to love this one. It was an arc, and it had a scarred, stalking cowboy. And on paper, I think that sounds like something that I probably would I should love, and I should have been eating it up. But to be honest, this one just wasn't for me. I found it too long. It was I was bored in parts, and there was a very explicit phrase that just kept getting repeated. And by the end of it, I was like, okay, I get it. Free me. Because she just kept saying it, or he kept saying it over and over and over and over again. And so, yeah, this one just wasn't for me. So the next one was a surprising read for me. It was called Alpha by Tia Ray. To be honest, I thought it was going to be a dud because of the cover. However, let this be a lesson. Do not judge a book by its cover, because I really liked this one. So it's about a woman who gets kidnapped by the government, and she's used in a breeding program for super soldiers. Yes. Stay with me here for a second. I think what made this one work was the fact that you had dual perspective. So you get the FMC's point of view, but you also get the point of view of the doctor as well. Yeah, like the doctor who's like running the facility. And like he's very much devolving in real time. So I think that added a lot to the story, because you're seeing like the horror of the experiments from both sides. I would definitely recommend this one. Check your trigger warnings. It was dark. There was some parts in here that were a little dark, but I think you guys might like this one. Side note, like the doctor is not the MMC. Like the MMC is a super soldier. So just a side note. Next one I did was A Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. This one was a book club pick, and based off of the buddy read, I think we all really enjoyed it. I don't want to say too much because this is definitely one of those books you should go into blind, but it was fast paced, it was twisty, it kept me on my toes, and I honestly was just like, I couldn't put it down, and I just needed to know like what was going to happen. So that's all I'm going to tell you on this one. I would definitely recommend it. Go into it blind. It was a good book. This was another surprising read for me. Fun little fact about me, I actually went to culinary school, so romance set around food and restaurants was very much so like up my alley. When I first started it, I thought it was going to be like I was going to have like a PTSD kind of moment, having flashbacks about my times working in a restaurant, but it was actually really cute. It follows Poppy, who is kind of like a hot mess in her family, and after another setback, I'm not going to say like what the setback was because I don't want to like put any spoilers in here. She ends up linking up with Jack, who used to work for her dad, but he actually got fired, and Jack inherits like this old rundown restaurant in Florida, and basically they both end up showing up to Florida and reviving like this restaurant, and Poppy ends up proving to her family and to herself that she can stand on her own 2 feet. Super cute, had really great banter. It also touches on grief in a really beautiful way. I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did, but I ended up really liking it. So I would definitely recommend. Next, we had Untamed by BJ Alpha. This was another arc read for me. All I'm going to say about this one is that it involves an ex-wife's daughter, and this man comes up with a diabolical plan, a diabolical revenge plan to get back at his ex-wife by getting involved with her daughter. So yeah, messy. Doesn't even begin to cover it with this one. Did I enjoy it? Yes, I did. So we had One for the Team by Aria Days. This was a super quick read, and I ended up really enjoying it. It was a wide choose. It was a wide choose romance, and let's just say everybody was putting in a little work. It was fun. It was spicy, and exactly the kind of quick read that I wanted in the moment. So we had another arc read, which was Chase Me If You Can by Heather Francis, I want to say, but I'm going to double check that and it's going to be here for you. If you loved Twister as a kid and never thought like maybe I could be a storm chaser, then this one might be the one for you. That was the vibe that it gave off. This one follows like the two main characters who are enemies. I'd probably say like more rivals though, because they're both competing in a competition for who captures like the perfect photo so that it can go on the cover of like this magazine. But they also like end up putting themselves in like precarious situations. Like they call this man Wild Wes for a reason. He ends up like banging up his car like really bad and ends up having to like carpooling with her, I guess you would say. I really like the forced proximity in this one, and I also really liked their chemistry. So yeah, this was a good one. Next we had Burning Ivy by Brandy Hines. I really wanted to love this one more. It had secret society, arranged marriage, and forced proximity, probably like a lot of the things that I absolutely loved, but it just was a touch too long for me and it was just meh. So the next one we had was Betrayed by the Plot. I actually won this one in a giveaway, and it follows Kat, who writes children's books, but she also writes spicy romance books on the side under a secret pen name that nobody knows about. And basically she starts getting like these death threats, and her brother hires Tom, who's like the super hot older rugged bodyguard to protect her. And this one had forced proximity because like Tom obviously like ends up moving in. I loved the small town romance vibe. Overall, I just had a really good time with it, and I thought the whole secret pen name plus bodyguard situation just like made it really fun, and it was like something I hadn't seen in a while. Next we had Drifting Into You by Andrea Delaney. It was a cute read. It follows Gina, who's like on a cruise for her brother's like wedding, and she thinks like it's finally going to be like she's finally going to get like the chance to like get the courage to pursue her long-term crush. But her brother's best friend Leo, who she definitely has beef with, has like other plans because like this man's like trying to like sneak on in there himself. It was just like a really cute little vacation romance. It was super easy to read, and so yeah, it's a thumbs up for me. Then we were on to Bellini Born by Sienna Trapp. This one started off super strong for me. It lost me in the middle, and then somehow it brought me back in the end. It's a single dad nanny situation with forced proximity, and it was a mafia romance. And on paper, it had a lot of things like I usually enjoy. I think the pacing just like dipped for me in the middle, and by the end, I was back into it just like enough to like say I still had like a good time. So we had Show Me How by Ashley Reeds. This one was an interracial romance, and I actually really, really liked it. My sister also read this one, so it was so fun to like compare our thoughts afterward. The story starts with like Savannah. It literally starts with a bang. We find Savannah walks in on her fiance and her cousin going to Pound Town on each other, and she obviously ends the engagement and she like throws the ring at this man. And then cut to, she finds out that 3 weeks later, well, it's not even 3 weeks later, they're getting married 3 weeks later. But the fiance or the ex-fiance, he basically used the same ring that she threw at him, her ring that he gave her, to propose to her cousin. Yes, you heard that correctly. The same ring. And basically, now they're getting married. She needs a date for like this wedding because she refuses to show up there alone and to show that like she's a loser and that like they've won. And she ends up going online to find like a date, and everybody like keeps like everything keeps falling through, and she's meeting all these like creepers and stuff like that. And she finds like this one guy, and he ends up canceling on her, but he's like, I sent my friend. And when she meets the guy, she's like, oh my God, could it be anybody else? Like, honestly, because this guy happens to be the guy that used to bully her in high school. This was super messy, and I was like, honestly, I was hooked from the start. So it was a definite yes for me. We had Ms.V's Hot Girl Summer by A.H. Cunningham. I really liked this one. It was an age gap romance where the FMC was older. Her name was Trinidad, and she's a single mother who was like looking for love and ends up getting like parent trapped by her two twin boys. And they decide to set her up with their hot younger mentor. And honestly, I was here for the mess. The characters were likable, had a lot of funny moments. I absolutely cackled when she was like, okay, thank you, son. Like, girl, like, what were you doing? What were you thinking? Yeah, it was a good time. Up next, we had another arc read. It was Love Well Kept by Bailey Hannah. She's a Canadian author. I've read all of her other books in the series, so I was really looking forward to this one, and I absolutely loved this book. Honestly, I really loved this entire series, so I'm not really surprised that this one worked out so well for me. It felt like the perfect ending to the series, and actually I got pretty emotional in parts in this one. You don't have to read the whole series because each book can be read as like a standalone, but I do think it hits harder if you read the other stories first. It just makes like the ending feel a little bit more satisfying. Then we had American Queen by Sierra Simone. This one has been on my TBR forever, and we did it as a buddy read, and I feel like it was hit or miss for the group. I personally enjoyed it, but I'm also a sucker for like King Arthur lore. It's why like Legendborn is probably one of like my favorite books of all time. So the way that like this one pulled me into like the legend, and I was kind of like piecing like who certain characters were and how it lined up to like the lore, it definitely worked for me. It was dramatic, it was intense, and very much doing the most in like the spicy bits. But if you've read like Sierra Simone's books before, like like she does not back down with like her spicy parts. But yeah, it was like a satisfying read. I'd probably read book two. Like I know like other people like in our buddy read are not going to be like reading like any more of the series. So but I think this one is one that like I'll probably pick up again. And to finish the month, I read Sweet Little Hearts by Shanora Williams. This is like an interracial romance. He's Argentinian. He's an Argentinian basketball player. Pardon me. And this is a single dad nanny situation. She moves in with him to help him with his little girl. There was a little drama in it to keep you interested in the story. It was fun. It was a likable read. I really enjoyed it. It was a good time. And I would probably read, and I'll probably go back and read book one in the series because I just went into like book two. I would definitely go back and read book one because I want to see more of like the characters, which was like her sister and his best friend. So yeah, that was my final read for the month. That's a wrap on my June wrap up. If you've read any of the books, please let me know what you thought. And also tell me what your favorite read from June was, because as you know, I am always looking for books to add to my never ending TBR. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.